Okay, most of you have either heard or not heard of Bitcoin, but I'm here to talk to you about Bitcoin and what makes it different from other currencies. So, the Bitcoin is created by Satoshi Nakamoto back in 2009, and it is identified as decentralized digital currency. And one of the reasons why the Bitcoin is different from other currencies, including digital currencies, is because of its underlying technology, the blockchain. So during this presentation, I will be talking about what is Bitcoin and how does the blockchain impact the financial industry, and how does the blockchain apply in areas besides finance. So the Bitcoin, as I said, it's created back in 2009 after the financial collapse 1 year before, and the creator is anonymous, and he created Bitcoin to promote decentralized public ledger, which is the blockchain. So the blockchain is it's basically a library of transaction information. So if a user buys something from the merchant, the transaction is stored in a block, and then that transaction is it becomes known into the blockchain network, and then it gets processed. So the process is called mining, and the block is added to the blockchain, and then the transaction becomes something called hash. And what it is basically a mathematical formula that distinguishes each transaction from other transactions. So so Bitcoin in this sense is not entirely anonymous, but it's rather pseudo-anonymous. And then the merchant gets paid. So why is the blockchain so innovative in the fields of finance and banking? So the first reason is because that the blockchain is used to conduct transactions, and because of the fact that there is no middleman, the transactions are much faster than other, for example, like PayPal and other payment services that requires central authority to go through the transaction. And because of that, it's also cost effective, and there is very little fees involved. And the blockchain is also useful in other areas besides finance. So in this case, the blockchain is available to be applied to, for example, like data security. So the blockchain in theory can be applied to something like healthcare. So it can store the patient's information, and it can be also not be accessible to the person who owns the blockchain, because the blockchain is not owned by anyone, it's public. So it's also applicable to other things like insurance, and also like when buying a land. For example, in Argentina, like you can buy a land using Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is identified as taxable. So it's Bitcoin is classified as a property in Argentina, so that makes it appropriate to be used in buying a land and selling land. So so my project is going to be a series of interviews conducted to Bitcoin experts and also cryptocurrency experts. So I've interviewed 3 individuals so far, and first one is Chris Yim, who is co-founder of LibertyX, and he is and his company is it's like a Bitcoin service provider. So it used to be an ATM company, and what his company does is he basically advocates usage of Bitcoin, and other individuals that I have interviewed also advocates Bitcoin. So for example, Dan Elitzer, who is business designer at a venture capital company, he advocates Bitcoin, and he co-established MIT Bitcoin Club in the university, and he basically set up an example of how Bitcoin should be advocated. And not only that, but I've also interviewed people like so I've interviewed the commissioner of banks in Massachusetts, and he explained something like the regulation of government regulation of Bitcoin, and how the government is worried about consumer protection of Bitcoin, and how the government views Bitcoin as a currency but not as the first application of the blockchain. So I want to end this presentation with this quote. Blockchain technology continues to redefine not only how the exchange sector operates, but the global financial economy as a whole. So, like I said before, the blockchain is very useful in finance, including, like, it's currently used in exchanges and money transfers and transactions. But not only that, but it's also very useful in data security, like I said before. In the current environment of where people are concerned about digital security and hackers, and that the government is not very efficient in protecting our personal information. So the blockchain is not only innovative in financial aspect, but I think the technology can be applied to everywhere across the board, and I think the technology brings us closer to how we live in the digital age.
Great. Thank you. I'm sorry that the timer goes off and it's so distracting. All right, let's